Well, there was incredible news yesterday, Matt. I'm sure you saw it. After long, long discussions and hope and dreams of a nation, we now know that Taylor Swift and Travis Kelsey are going to get married. And of course,
Not this
we
podcast,
are
too.
100% not the podcast that follows any of this. But I was
Good.
thinking to myself, okay, what tech event would even come close to the supernova of Travis Kelsey and Miss Taylor Swift getting married? So I'm gonna throw out some, and I want you to tell me: do any of them even like rise above? So I'm starting
Move
with
the
some
needle.
that probably aren't you don't think are not necessarily there, but we'll work up. We'll work our way up to maybe some that I think we have a real chance. So all
Oh,
right,
good,
so
good. You're testing me.
I got like a
Good. Can we
list
get that
here. We'll
right
just
now?
see.
Okay.
Like, do we think any of these are like pulp culture worthy? Okay, we'll kind of start low. Cote's
Or
not
are
here,
we
but I feel
talking?
like
Wait. Are we talking uh, enterprise software and open source development pop culture worthy, or are we
yeah. I
talking
mean, well, I don't know.
exiting our bubble?
As always, Matt, you ruin the games. But like, I just do my. I'm gonna throw out ideas. You're gonna react to them. First one I have for you is okay. Broadcom acquiring VMware. That was a pretty
That was
monumental thing,
yeah.
but it was kind of controversial. And also, like, I don't think people would we say people were cheering for this? Like, people were cheering for Travis and Taylor, right? They wanted it to happen. Whereas I don't. It doesn't feel worthy. Do you think it gets to that height?
I mean, it was definitely. I think it's one of those things like people didn't realize the repercussions at the time. They were like, "Oh, VMware's on some unsure footing. Broadcom's going to throw them a lifeline, and everything's going to be the same, but better financial footing." Instead, like a year afterwards, half the customers have fled in terror, and they've quadrupled their profits or whatever. So, um, I don't think at the time it captured the zeitgeist, though.
Okay, I don't think so either. So, all right, that one's probably out. Okay, what about IBM Red Hat? Right, there was like, I think the IBM people were pretty excited. The Red Hat people were maybe shrugging a little bit, maybe not that excited. So, like, would we say is that one? Is that one? Get to the point.
I mean, definitely IBM Red Hat that moved the needle. Um, in my corner of the world, I touch a lot more open source and stuff. So that that seemed to move it a little more than Broadcom. But
Mm-hmm.
now as I'm, I guess, dealing less open source, probably the VMware was more impactful.
Mm-hmm.
But,
Okay.
but very similar though. On a Richter scale, I'm calling that maybe a 6, 7.
Okay,
It's
but
getting up
again,
there.
not Taylor Travis worthy. I don't think we're
Oh
there
no,
yet.
I
I
mean
think
that's
we're that.
that's world
So, okay.
shattering.
All right, what about maybe some surprising ones like Amazon Whole Foods, right? That was a little bit of like, oh, Amazon and AWS, they do computers. Whole Foods is like has this history and like a, if you will, a health food store. It was a grocery, has this loyal following. Do you think, I don't know, does that remind you of Taylor and Travis getting together?
Maybe when they started dating, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like the only reason I'm vaguely aware of this is I have a daughter who's a very big Taylor Swift fan. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like something popped up like, oh, Tay-Tay's got a new boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Amazon did an acquisition. It's kind of different from the other acquisitions, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
it, it's a bit of a change, but it wasn't world shaking unless you were a Whole Foods customer. But yeah, I mean that was kind of big news. But there'll be other acquisitions.
Mm-hmm.
Taylor, we always thought, well, she'll have other boyfriends.
All right. Well, what about this one? Then? What about Google and YouTube? Google kind of being like, if you will, the stalwart, like a football player just out
Yeah.
there delivering searches. YouTube bringing like the arts, a little bit of like mainstream culture. Is that a little Travis? Is that giving you more Travis Taylor vibe? Are you feeling it a little
Well,
bit?
I mean, I think, but at the time we didn't recognize YouTube for the monstrosity it would become, right? The cultural cornerstone, right?
Right.
And so maybe I don't know. Maybe this would be like if they'd started dating before 1989 or something, right?
Okay.
Where
All right.
she's pretty popular. Everybody's getting aware of her. But I think that's before Kanye went off on her, and So if it had been a little earlier in the story, but now it's like, she's a billionaire. So she's a much bigger deal than him. So
Yep.
if he's Googling this story, it would be a
Yeah,
different
because we'd have to
story.
reverse it a little bit. So that don't really
Yeah.
fit as well. Okay, what I'll give you two. I'll just anything with Facebook, Instagram, or Facebook, WhatsApp. I don't know. It feels it's like who's Facebook there, who's Instagram. It's
She's definitely
difficult.
Facebook, right? Right.
Yeah, but like I don't
But
know.
but I
I
don't
don't
see.
want
I
to.
don't
I don't
think.
want to disparage her like that. That doesn't feel like people would want to be called that
Well,
now. But at
well,
the time, maybe they
no,
were,
no, no, no,
right?
no. This is why she's Facebook,
Hmm.
because she acquires WhatsApp for $1 billion and they have 8 employees, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But he's got his own little corner of the internet. He's got a podcast. He's
A
he's
little
he's,
bit,
he's
yeah.
popular with. He's got an audience. But
We'll fact check ourselves. Actually, Facebook acquired WhatsApp for $22 billion. You were thinking of
okay, and it was more
Instagram
than
was
eight
the 1 billion,
employees.
but it's all
Yeah,
the same. It's all the same.
yeah.
Okay, all
I
right.
mean,
What
it
about
was
that?
it was
Okay,
it was a whale and a guppy.
all right. I'm gonna give you three more. Well, and then we'll see if any of these kind of get to it. Now, what about this one? Disney, Pixar. That was like I feel like people wanted that. Like Pixar,
Yeah,
we were
you know
worried
what?
about Pixar. We knew they made one movie a year that was great, but we're like, what's gonna happen? Are they gonna make it? Are they gonna get their movies into the theaters? And then along comes Disney. And who doesn't like Disney? Who doesn't like
Yeah.
Mickey Mouse? Can you
So
be
so
can you
this
be against Mickey Mouse?
I'm gonna kind of hedge the story a little now. I'm gonna say that is actually like the news of them getting engaged. It was kind of a foregone conclusion. Nobody was that shocked, right?
Hmm.
They're like, oh, this is big news. The wedding is gonna be the thing that like breaks the internet in half.
True.
So I was like,
True.
because my daughter was like, oh, they're engaged. I was like, haven't they been dating for like 2 years? How is this unexpected, right? Disney and Pixar were already like buddy buddy at the
Yeah, they've
time.
been together for a long time. They've already had a
Yeah,
relationship. They've been living
exactly.
together, if you will.
Yeah,
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 okay.
yeah.
All right, what about this one? What about Apple buying Next? Right, that was
Oh,
sort
that's
of
that's
like,
not even on the radar, man. That's
nah,
that's
doesn't even
like
count. All right.
that'd be like if Jack Abramov went off and he stopped writing songs for 3 albums, and then he came
Uh,
back, and you're like, oh yeah, yeah, they were a good
oh,
pair
we remember
together.
him. We remember
Yeah,
him. Okay.
exactly, right. But most people are like, what?
Well, okay. Well, listen, I
That-
don't have any more mergers or acquisitions. So it's like, I don't think
oh,
any
I have one.
merger or acquisition
I
is
have
that.
one.
Okay, go
The,
ahead.
the,
What is
the
it?
one that shook my world the most
Uh-huh.
was Oracle by Sun. Like
Yeah,
that
but
just
that
like
I had that on the list, but that
disrupted a
feels
lot
like
of people.
people were so like that was more angry. Like I don't think anyone was happy about that. Like
Well,
Brian Crantrell is
I can assure you.
Brian Oxide Computer exists only because of that, or at least
Well, sure,
one of
sure.
the reasons because of that.
But I just mean like there's going to be a corner of the Taylor Swift fan base who is forever bitter about when the wedding happened.
Oh, you're bringing. Oh, okay. Like I think the Swifties are pretty happy about it, but you're right. Maybe I'm missing
I,
it.
I think there
There's a
are, but
small set of Swifties that are probably upset by this.
yeah. But
Interesting.
not to say that I think most Sun employees were probably against the acquisition, But
Well, I think at that point they were just like, well, someone's got to buy this thing, otherwise
yeah,
we're just out of a job. So I mean, that what
exactly.
could they do? All right, well, listen, I didn't have any more mergers and acquisitions, but I wanted to get way ahead of this. When I think we can assume, there's going to be a Taylor Travis baby, somewhere down the road.
Oh,
Maybe it'll be a while, but I just wanted to name the cultural moment that I think will be most appropriate in the tech world. And I'm going to say when Apple launched the iPhone in 2007, that is going to be like that's like a pop culture moment that crossed over in a way that people are going to be so excited when Taylor and Travis have their first baby. What do you think
well,
about that? And I want to
I
also go on record. We're the first podcast to cover the potential birth of the child and make a tech comparison. I want to make sure we get this today. This is what we're leading with.
okay, well, to piggyback on that, to parlay this story, now that gambling is legal apparently everywhere in the United States and futures markets as well, I would like to parlay that bet that they're going to have a child, and I want 1,000,000,000 to 1 odds the child's name is Steve.
I think you could probably get that. I think you could. I think you could. That would be. That seems unlikely, but I like that. I like where you're going from that.
I'm just
So,
saying they know they're fans of the podcast, so they owe us.
they do. Well, listen. I mean, now that Taylor's making the rounds on podcasts, like we do interviews. So I'm just saying, if you want to
Yeah,
come on,
and
you want to get on here, and you want to reach
exactly.
you want to reach an audience that I don't think you're reaching today. I believe we can deliver that. I believe most of this audience may have sons and daughters who are Swifties, but we're probably, and again, I want to be clear, we're not against
And
it at
fans
all.
of Travis.
Again,
So I got both.
we're football fans for sure. We like Taylor. We're not going to pretend we're in it though. We're not going to pretend we know. At least I don't know all the music. I don't know. I mean,
No.
sounds good when it's on the radio. I'm never upset. So we don't want to ever anger the Swifties. So,
Yes.
but what I would like you to do, if you know of a merger or acquisition or an event that you think happened in tech that is worthy of this type of pulp culture a moment, go into the Slack and put it in there, and I'll read some of them out. I always find that like the things I can't think of, other people will think of it. So there we have it. So Matt, while there was a lot of excitement and, if you will, the internet was a buzz with the engagement, I think what we have also seen is we've seen a little disillusionment. We just about a month ago, you and I were on here and we were talking about AI, and we kind of said, well, if ChatGPT 5 doesn't wow us, then maybe we can call that the apex of the Gartner hype cycle. So I'm going to give you a layup. I think we've had a few weeks now. We've all played around with GTP 5. I actually kind of think it's fine. I don't think it's bad.
But it's fine isn't good enough.
Right, but it's fine. It's not good. So a couple things to set the stage here. It sounds like even Sam Altman sort of walking it back, like, "Hey guys, the next one's going to be great." But they admit that maybe the rollout wasn't great. Some people didn't like the new tone of ChatGPT 5. I think it's fine myself, but there was so I think there's some acknowledgement. Also, too, it doesn't. I don't know. It seems like a little bit better, but it doesn't seem to do anything different. Or at least you have to really work hard to find things. Well, let's start there. Have you been able to find any new use case that wasn't available to you before that now you're like, oh, now it does this?
No. I think, what was it, like 5% less hallucinations or something? I mean, I think bring Taylor Swift back into this. This is like the Tortured Poets album. It's like, of course it's news, but it didn't really move the needle, right? And the ground had already been set, and you're kind of like, well, we're just on this plateau. And when you're burning $1 billion a month, the plateau's not very good.
True. Now, what about this? There's been a lot of writing about AGI, right? And of course, artificial general intelligence, when I say that. And it seems like people are now moving away from it. At least some of the thought leaders, around the sense of like, one, no one really knows what it means, so therefore it's a bad term just in general. And then two, it kind of feels like it's not as close as maybe people would have once led us to believe. I don't know. Is that even controversial saying that? What do you think?
I definitely feel like I've seen more people pointing out that it's spicy autocomplete. That they're like, there's actually no thinking going on here. It's just been calculating statistically likely conclusions based off all the corpus of the internet. And like, that's what we were saying before. That's not smart, right? That's just autocomplete. On steroids, lots and lots of steroids.
But it is really. But I think we should. This is the part where it's like, but it is pretty cool. Like that part is pretty. The fact that you can kind of have back and forth with it,
cool.
like.
Yes.
Like I always think it's like maybe autocomplete, spicy autocomplete's like maybe just giving it a little too much shade. It's like, it's sort of, if you will, and again, people always say like an intern level, but it's just sort of like, it's an interesting dynamic to be able to like interact with it in a way that, if you will, feels humanish, right? Like a chatting humanish. And it's also, and I would also say, this is the part I guess I've been thinking a lot about, like, what is it good at? Like, I actually think it is great at learning about new concepts and ideas. Like, instead of like, so I was thinking about this. It's like, I actually prefer when I need to learn about something, like I was doing this week with Oxide Computer, right? Like I was listening to the podcast and I was like, I need to know more about like, what exactly is so great about this? And so I just started asking questions, and it was just giving me all, like, I mean, I'm sure I could go to the Oxide website and read this, but it was just giving me all the stuff. It was like, oh, this is why it's hard to write a BIOS, and this is why it's great to, not have that. This is why they did this, and this is why they did this. And it was like, and I thought to myself, like, this was much more useful than even I had Brian Cantrell, or one of the guys on, like, doing a slide deck, right? It was actually more interesting to me because I was like, I was asking questions. The things I wanted to go deep on, I just prompted it. And the things that I either knew or I wouldn't care about, I didn't get into. So, like, I don't know. I feel like, are we underestimating just sort of like time to learn about, again, and also I think like a non-controversial subject, something like this is like where it's just ingesting all the information. So there's not really any like, there's no politics with like Oxide Computer. It's just like, let me tell you about the RAM. Let me tell you about, it's just like, so I think stuff like that is like really good way to learn. So what do you think about that? What do you think about that as a use case?
I completely agree that that's actually really useful. I mean, that sort of level is really useful. But people who thought that this was the step to API were trying to sell it like so they raise more money. I don't really think this is on the path to, I feel like this is the path to having like the global search engine that has the answers. Amazing. It's awesome, right? And human hallucinations, it's like to a human. I mean, as I kind of weed some of that out, I have conversations with customers.
Hey man, can you hear me? I cannot hear. You're frozen on my end. I'm not sure if. Up. All right, you're back. Can you hear me? Cannot hear you. I don't know. I can see you. Maybe your mic, wrong mic. All right, you back?
I'm back.
Okay, good.
I don't know what happened. Sorry.
It's all right. I think it was. It sounds like it was on your end, so I'm not for sure. I'm just
Probably.
sitting
It
here.
said,
So
that's what it said.
okay. All right, here's what I'm doing. I'm gonna set you up. I'm just gonna like I'm gonna just repeat that same question. Like, great way to learn, and then I'll let you go from there. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. So one of the things I just kind of come back to is like I just think it's a great way to learn. Like, what do you think? Is that a fair way to use AI today?
I mean, it's definitely a great way to learn. I think if LLMs and what we have become kind of the pinnacle of search technology, that's still pretty great, right? Because that's what it is. It's search, right? You're saying, I want to know about Oxide, and it's like, well, let me tell you. It's this private company. They've raised this much money. You're like, no, no, no. Tell me about the hardware. And it's like, searching, searching. Oh, well, this is the stuff I know about their hardware, right? And it's like having Brian Cantrell in the room or whatever, where you're guiding him with the things you want to know. It's read the internet multiple times a day apparently, but it's read everything and tries to stay on topic, and but it's also like talking to a human. I mean, I talk with customers every day, and they'll ask me something. I'm like, I don't know. All right, let me go research this, and I'll get back to you. And I think the problem right now, of course, is the LLM's like, check it out. rainbows come out the end when you're done, and you're like, wait, what? You know, I mean, but if you didn't know, you'd be like, damn, you know, Arcside's shipping rainbows, and and so like that's the discomfort I have with it. But at no point do I ever feel like I'm talking with something intelligent. I feel like I'm talking with a really, really smart search engine. And that's the jump to AGI. You know, a search engine is never AGI. You never had, you know, pre LLM, you never had people like, you know, I'm leaving my wife for Google search, right? That never happened, right? But now people are like, oh, it auto completes the things that I truly want to hear. And I was like, well, say that out loud, right? Because that's exactly what it's doing. It's just responding to search terms in a conversational manner. You know, it's got everything ingested, and that's really valuable. You know, and that can be really useful. But to conflate that with actual intelligence, when people ask it to do something original, it's like, you know, chomp chomp chomp. Here's the stuff I saw before, and maybe you hadn't seen it yet.
Mhm.
or right, or the AI artwork is even better because it's like it looks like a mush of other stuff, right?
Yep.
I mean, and like that's what it is. It's a mush of other stuff. So I don't think we were on the path to AGI. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just a hater. But when I think AGI, I'm thinking like, you know, the culture series of Ian Banks novels and stuff, where, you know, the AGI is like, we got this. We're in charge of you know, of everything, and people are like, yeah, they're good at that. Maybe we will get to that with LLMs, but I think most of the people in the field are like hedging their bets heavily.
Definitely. Well, I think this is where we are, and this is what, in some ways, it's kind of good because I feel like we're, if you will, somewhere on the slope down, if you will, into the trough of disillusionment. But like, it's a good place to be because it's sort of like where technology goes to find, if you will, a home of usefulness. You know, it's like because once you kind of go through the trough, you find that the next thing we never talk about is the quote unquote plateau of productivity, where it's like, oh, we've learned what this thing can
Yeah.
do and we're going to use it in our lives and it's going to be useful. So a couple things though, but I think you're like we're talking about education stuff and I think that's really good. But I think as we go through the trough of disillusionment on our way to the platform of productivity, there will be lots of misses. And I thought we should call out some of them. And it seems like so kind of an interesting, or maybe I should say a fun use of let's say LLMs is you can now do it in Excel, right? In Excel, you can basically open a cell and then tell it to like, you know, whatever, list all the airport codes or find all the zip codes and stuff like that, which is like it's a novel, interesting thing. But now Microsoft has explicitly come out and said that like if you do that, that Excel like you can't use this in, if you will, for like real things. Like you can't count on the of it doing the math correctly in Excel, which is funny, right? Or you can't do it for like compliance, right? So that's like the I don't know. It's almost like this ironic thing. It's like, well, it's great they put this in there, but it's almost, if you will, taking what Excel is really good at, precision calculations, and taking that away. So it's like, I don't, you know, it's just one of these things. Like it's probably not good. I mean, I don't want to say people shouldn't try things, but you're like, it's probably not good. You put this in Excel, or if you do, you almost have to like triple click opt into this. It's like, wait a minute, like I really know what I'm doing because you don't want all your finance people putting this in there and then suddenly it's like the
Yeah.
math is just not correct. So
We're
go
gonna
ahead.
vibe code our audit, right? And like, no, that just doesn't work. I mean, you know, of course, then you don't have to fire the intern. You can just blame it on the AI.
True, but I guess ultimately it's one of those things. So I think that was one miss, and then the other one, I think the biggest one, we talked a lot about this a little bit before, but I feel like I'm seeing this more is that you know people kind of anything that is workflow related feels like is not a good solution for an LLM, right? Like if you see workflow, you should not. And I think this is like the biggest thing that people are keep talking about. Like it's going to take over and use all this. Like every SaaS site that you use today will eventually become an LLM, and it's like I feel like that entire idea is wrong. And it seems like what you should do there is because you actually want something programmatic and predictable is you should use the LLM to help write the, if you will, the Python script. Because even on my own,
Absolutely.
like in the smallest level, and I'm sure everyone listening to this shit, like you probably got some scripts that you do, right? And it's so much better to like have the thing do exactly what you want it to do every single time, right? So it's like taking the time to like whatever. For me, it's like create a little Python script, do some parse some data, and every single time versus like trying to come up with a prompt that you think you can give an LLM that you think will mostly execute it right, but you're never quite sure.
Yeah.
Maybe it just throws in like a weird arbitrary thing. And it feels like so when I read people trying to like talk about that, and I don't know, and maybe this is like sort of edging up to like our MCPs like a good, I don't know. I don't know like agents and MCPs, it's like I'm not sure like chaining those together in a workflow is actually a good idea with this
Well,
technology.
it is if you like to add the element of randomness to your results. I mean, I mean, I literally kind of experience this daily where you know, my employer has a lot of AI embedded in our stuff,
Uh-huh.
and you can use it to craft queries. You can say like, I want to find this. I want to find some everything that's exposed to the internet with vulnerabilities, and it's like boom, here you go, and you're like, that's close. I need to tweak that, and then tomorrow you enter the same thing, it gets you totally different responses.
Right.
And the application very flexible, lots of different ways to do things. That's part of the problem, though, right? And so, like as I point out to customers, is like, don't put the LLM search in your workflows. Put the results, look at what it does, fix that, and put that in your workflow. Don't ever leave this random number generator in your workflow, because that's what it is. It's 99% of the time it works, and that 1% is the time when you're going to be like, hey, it said there wasn't anything, but it returned something completely different this time, and our workflows didn't know how to deal with that. And it's like, well, don't intentionally introduce randomness. Use the randomness to like brainstorm. Use it to search the space. Use it when you're like figuring out what's available to you. It's search, right? And would you pre LLMs, would you have put Google search into your workflows? No. Would you do it today? Hell no.
No.
Right? It's gotten
Yeah.
worse. Everybody knows it's gotten worse. And so like, just that's the question you should be answering yourself. Would you put that into a load bearing workflow, and like only if you hate your job?
So I think we're like no on workflows. I think we're no on math. Now I did want to be more positive. I wanted to bring one up because like everybody in education, there's a lot of like, oh, the children, how are they going to learn? They're never going to write again. So, but what if I was thinking about this? What if people leaned into the other side of the LLM? So maybe the way you could teach writing would be to actually have people open up a prompt, right, and be like, and if you will, in my world, it's sort of like a prompt, and it's like you ask the student, be like, okay, write 300 words about this describing this subject, right? And so the student like basically has to type in the words themselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then the LLM, if you will, and again, the LM could be, if you will, could understand like whatever style guide you're teaching to, or whatever the grammatical rules. It's sort of like then the LLM could basically go through and, if you will, like grade it in real time, but really provide feedback. Be like, okay, Matt, I'm glad that you did that. We've noticed some of these words were misspelled, and you misused these commas and or whatever, right? And then you have the student go back and be like, okay, now write it again, right? And incorporate these ideas, or and then so they go through and they write it again, and then maybe they do. So the assignment isn't so much, because I go back to like it sounds like old man here, and it's like, oh, back when I was in school, like you wrote a paper, you turned it in, and
Had a
then
draft. Yeah.
right, and they got a draft, and they usually got like a red pen, right? And then often like they would grade it like content and like whatever, like grammar, right? They give you 2 grades to be like the concepts were good. This is how always mine were always good. Like, yeah, you had some good ideas, but you could clean up your grammar, right? Something like that. And it's like, well, but maybe if we just kind of built that in, but that's a whole cycle that maybe took like a series of like a week or 2 weeks, depending on like
Mm-hmm.
how long. And it's like, well, what if you just did that in real time? They actually just embraced it, where it's like the students today could get that real-time feedback and kind of start to be. And then my final thing is like the teacher, what you submit to the teacher is like the whole log, right? Where it says like, okay, here's what the kid wrote the
Yeah.
first time, and then here's what they improved on, and and then at the end of that, the grade could also give the teacher, be like, okay, and then especially if you looked at a classroom of kids, you'd be like, okay, they didn't, I'm just picking on commas or maybe M dashes or whatever. Okay, they didn't use this punctuation well. Go over that in class. Or also too, you can see something like, uh, the grammar was good, but they need to vary their vocabulary a little bit. So maybe do vocabulary words next week or something like that. So
Mm-hmm.
so I just think it's sort of like embracing, because it's like good at writing. You know what I mean? It's really good at, like, I feel like it's great at, like, giving you ideas about writing, cleaning up your writing, making it better. Even and on a tech side of it, it's like, I don't know if they still have it. Amazon used to have like a class. It's like, write like an Amazonian, right? And they used to have all these like rules. Of, it's like,
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
use crutch words, use like facts and figures, like don't, vary sentence structures. Anyway, it's just like, it's not like all that exciting, but I'm just sort of like, but you can almost be like, okay, maybe as an adult, you want to like, hey, read my thing and make it Amazon style. But also maybe it could be like, hey, I'm going to go through this exercise myself because I want to be more natural at writing, like in that case, Amazon style guide. So I don't know. So let me throw that out. It's like, does that feel like an optimistic take of like
That
using it
that
for
sounds great.
education?
Yeah, yeah.
So
No, that does sound great. I mean, some of my kids have had classes where um, they've had projects like that where the teacher's like, you can use AI. Show us what your prompts were. Show us, the steps you took along the way. What I of course worry about though is like step one, copy into a separate window with ChatGPT, paste results
sure.
in, and like I'm, 3/4 of the way done, having done no work,
Yep.
and I feel like, I mean, I'm, old man shaking fist at the cloud here, but like I feel like there's a lot of shortcutting happening, and it has downstream effects as you get to people who they get through high school, they can't they're obviously they can read, but they they're not, nobody's ever been, we've always had a shortage of good writers, but it's even more of a crutch now.
Mhm.
And the people who are trying to put the time in at this point they'll just get left behind or practically punished by not cheating, and that has downstream effects with high school graduates, college graduates entering the workforce. They can't do things independently. How long do they at this point? And then you've got employers who are like, well, you have to be good at AI to work here, and it's like,
Mhm.
well, dude, you're just saying like you have to be bad at thinking for yourself to work here is what I'm hearing. Um, because maybe it's you're an advanced tool worker. Um, I don't know.
All
There's
right, man.
this
But let
weird
me do
split
this.
there.
Let me give you a ray of hope. Let me give you. I'm going to introduce you to my friend Matt Garman. Okay, I thought this quote was really good. This is a quote in response to replacing AI replacing junior staff is quote the dumbest idea. And here's his full quote. It says, "How's that going to work when 10 years in the future you have no one that has learned anything?" He asked. My view is absolutely want to keep hiring kids out of college and teaching them the right ways to go build software and decompose problems and think about it just as much as you ever have. So I thought that was like a pretty measured take from the AWS CEO. Like, I think this is what we've been talking about. It was like, it was refreshing that, I mean, maybe it seems obvious. Maybe we're giving him too much credit. The fact that he went on the record was like, no, like everybody, like, I don't want to say he said things are the same, because also in an article, he also said that the younger people are like more likely to be using the AI tools. So it's sort of like you need
Hmm.
to like bring them in. It's good they know the AI tools. Then you need to quote unquote teach them like how to do it right. And I thought that was
Right.
like surprisingly measured take, right? So I feel like you and Matt Garman, you and Matt, you could work for Matt Garman. He's right on
I,
your he's like, we're gonna teach these kids how to
I
code. Whether
definitely,
they like it or not, these kids are gonna be using C++ and making memory management errors. We're gonna make sure they know how to do that before they move on to their fancy Rust languages and their AI tools.
but, and I think this is great. I mean, I think, um, I am optimistic in this scenario because think about how good, bad the average developer is. And right, those aren't the developers who go to Amazon, probably. Those aren't the developers who go to like most of the companies we talk about. Where they are is, to the left of the average, is like, all the, you know, companies that don't get a lot of noise. You've got your, Fortune 5,000 companies. Well, they're not all hiring the top, 5%. A lot of them have, seat fillers. And I guess maybe the seat fillers should be getting better. This is me optimistically saying, well, we're not creating 10x developers. We're creating 1x developers because we didn't have them before. I mean, if you've worked with traditional enterprises or government or the sorts, sometimes you come across people you're like, wow, this person sits in a chair, right? And and you're like, they're not on top of things that when you deal with some of the more bleeding edge users, customers, they're like, oh yeah, they've got it, they're with it, they're to the right of the curve. And so I
Hmm.
think maybe we're moving the curve to the right, which is a good thing
Which is what
because
we want, right?
yeah, which
So
is what we want. But um, I don't know. Maybe I'm having it both ways. I'm like, we're not teaching people to think. And then I was like, actually, a lot of people weren't thinking anyway. So let's just
all right,
let's
well, let
just
me
get better
introduce
at it.
you. Let me introduce you to the Coinbase CEO because I wanted to get your reaction to this. So, this is what happened. He said, okay, so this was in the background is here. They had an edict like everyone needs to use AI. So, okay, so
Yeah.
this is what he ultimately said. He said, "quote I jumped on this call on Saturday, and there were a couple people that had not done it. Some of them had good reason." Because they were just getting back home from some trip or something, and some of them didn't have a good reason, and they got fired. So this is the other quote from the article. It says, quote, while it doesn't sound like very many people were fired, Armstrong said it sent a clear message that AI is not optional. Still, everything about the story is wild. That there are engineers who wouldn't spend a few minutes of their week signing up for and testing the AI assistant, the most hype tech for the most hype tech for coders ever, and that Armstrong was willing to fire them over it. So I don't know, like, what do you make of this entire story? Is this like I think we should just start with like the meeting was on Saturday, right?
Yes.
Like that seems like a little, and then the fact that they obviously had some kind of audit about who did and did not use AI, and then like firing people over that one issue. Like, I don't know. So back to your kind of like, I guess you're kind of talking about moving the bar to the right, I guess, or moving the curve to the right. Like, is this a good idea? Like, what is your reaction to this story?
um, maybe, maybe they're going through a belt tightening phase, and this was an excuse. Like RTO being used as cover to like actually just have some layoffs without calling them layoffs. Um, that was actually my take on it. It wasn't like oh they're doing like no this is like Coinbase you know maybe I just obviously I'm not only am I the AI skeptic, I'm warmer on AI than I have ever been on crypto coins. So I've I've always been the hater on that. So uh
But even putting aside, this is just such a bizarre. I feel like this is so bizarre on so many levels, right? Like the tracking, the meeting on Saturday, and then the actual firing of someone. Like it seems like does anyone ever get a warning? Just like, hey, I really want you to take a look at this, right? Like, I mean, now I don't know. I guess you could say like maybe they did get a warning. Like I'm sure we all get things we're supposed to do at the office. I think most of us just click on the link, like we listen to the videos, we watch the presentations. It's not a
yeah.
big deal, right? You get paid to do some of the stuff. So I guess you can have that point of it. But I don't know. I just think this is like it's almost this. I guess really this is maybe not a story about AI. This is just maybe a story of Coinbase and just like I just think it's like absurd. The whole thing is absurd. Like, can no one get can no one like not work on Saturday? And if I and someone just be like, hey, make sure you give this new thing a shot. Like, I think you'll find it really useful. And also too, I guess the other thing too is like, I think in like, as I understand it, I think Coinbase is like I don't know, built on the contrarian vibe. I don't know if that's true or not, but it seems
Yeah.
like you would want to hear someone who's like, I'm not doing it. I don't want to do it. But when they did do it, it seems like those are the people you would want to hear back. Kind of back to our conversation earlier. It was like, listen, it's too much randomness. Like you could say someone's like, listen, we are building basically exchange traded bit cryptocurrency here. Everything's got to be perfect, right? I can't have this level of randomness in the code. I need to be writing every level. Like that seems like a reasonable take on the whole situation. Versus like just firing someone. So I don't know. I guess I don't really know what to say about this other than like maybe someone can write in and like I'd like to know more. Like, did this really happen? Maybe this is the entire story. I'm like, maybe this was AI generated. This entire article. Like, I don't even know. It seems totally crazy. Any final thoughts on Coinbase? You're frozen again, Matt. You there?
Jesus. Yeah.
You're frozen. I can't see you. I can hear you clicking. Are you back? Talk now. Okay, still kind of like
I've got
you've got red bars. What does that mean? All right, you're back.
Yeah, I'll check all my hardware after this.
Yeah, no
Um,
worries, no worries. All right,
um,
here. Well, we're almost done. We'll I left it on like, hey, I did something like this. I was just any final thoughts on what we're talking about
Coinbase.
on Coinbase, and you can just like tie that off, and then we'll do VMware, then we'll just we'll close it out. Sound good?
Okay, sure,
All right,
we'll
here you
try.
go. Matt, any final thoughts on Coinbase and the craziness that's going on there?
I mean, I feel like it'd be nice to live in a world where Glassdoor is something you can actually use when you're looking for a job, because I gotta expect they're getting savage there. I think most people look for jobs these days don't have a lot of choice. That's my impression of the job market. So I think employers can get away with these sorts of shenanigans. I think probably if you want randomness in your workflows, crypto's probably the best place for it. You know, they're probably like, hey, Excel, can we just get you to vibe code everything for us, because it's all made up anyway. So, you know, we're cool with it.
That's right. All right. Well, listen, enough of talking about the future. Let's talk about the present, and let's talk about our good friends at VMware. They had their big Explore 2025 conference that Koji has been talking about. And I would say this is just the classic big tech product conference. I guess I kind of come down to like my net takeaway out of this is like one, not surprisingly, VMware is very big on the private cloud. They believe the private cloud is what everyone should be doing because it provides predictable economics, a lot of data sovereignty, and a lot of compliance. So I feel like
Man,
these have been messages from VMware for a long time. Is there anything
yeah.
new there that we've missed?
They didn't they did talk about how they're the best place to run AI. They didn't say like let's put AI in charge of this. So maybe that's good. No, I thought it was I mean, boring, but in a good way, I guess, right? They're like, look, we might be charging you, 2, 3 times as much as we were previously, but look, it's stable. It's what you expect. You almost never, ever hear of, outages of VMware. I mean, it's localized blast zones, but when AZ when AWS East one goes down, like half the internet dies, right? But when was the last time you heard of a big VMware outage? So
That's true. That's
selling
actually true.
stability. Yeah, they're selling stability, and at this point, it's a very, very known product. There's not going to be any Taylor Swift moments here.
There is no Taylor Swift. But as you were talking there, I thought to myself, like, obviously there are times when one of the big Amazon data centers goes down, and we learn like, oh my gosh, look how much the internet uses it. But I think if like let's just hypothetically say all of VMware went down simultaneously, that would actually bring society to a halt. Like nothing would work. Like I feel like it is
Nothing.
everywhere. So I think to hit on the things they did talk about that I think are worth mentioning. So VCF 9.0, I guess the big news there is that AI is, quote, no longer bolted on. It's just part of the core VCF offering. So that seems to be the big thing there. So, everything in a single infrastructure seems like it makes sense.
Sure,
Seems
why
like
not?
that's like, yeah, sure. Like, why not? Right. And that's kind of high end. And then on the developer velocity kind of stuff. And these are some stuff that, like, Matt, I need you to check me because, like, I always have this problem with VMware. Like, I thought it already did this. So I'll start with this one. They made some noise at vSAN with native S3. So it basically supports the S3 API. And that's like, didn't it
Cool.
already do this? Or
I know. I know.
did I miss this?
I
Or am I
mean,
wrong?
everybody else already has been supporting, S3 APIs forever. I mean, I thought that was like the lingua franca, right?
I totally thought so. So I don't know. Maybe, I guess we'll get Cote or someone on here to like explain it. But I think I would have lost big money if I'd be like, yeah, of course they do. So then they have GitOps with, I don't know, this is your old world, like a little Argo, a little continuous deployment with that. Like, again, any thoughts on that? Any, like, what are your thoughts on Argo? I don't know. Seems fine to give
It
it the
seems
old,
fine. Yeah.
give it the
I
software
mean,
defined talk.
It works. It's a known quantity. I think what was the other one? Flux, was that the other one? And I think Argo won. I, you know, they're going with the standard. Way to go! So standards, 2 for 2.
Okay. All right. Good. So that's fine. And then, we can't get rid of the service mesh. They have the Istio service mesh. Again, don't know what they were using before. Not totally sure what's before. It seems like
Probably
Istio's
something
fine.
bespoke. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was. Maybe they just had their own thing. So it's like, yeah, using Istio and the service mesh seems fine. Again, probably would have thought it. So I don't know. So all of these I just kind of took to be like just adopting standards. Should we
That's
say
good,
that?
right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think, 95% of VMware users probably at no point try to look under any of the covers.
Uh-huh.
But it's nice to know that at least they're moving the whole industry together on standards.
That's good. So I don't know. So I guess we would summarize this as like, you got AI, you don't have to pay extra for it. Got everything under one roof, and you got the support of all these standards that honestly Brandon probably would have guessed you already had before. But hey, as we like to say here, like, we're always for just something simple, right? Like, just get it done,
yeah.
right? I'm the one that still wants, what they probably don't have enough of, export to CSV. I bet you right now, if I pulled up VMware, I'd be like, I see some places we could have export to CSV. One day, in fact, hopefully they'll put that in the next VMware Explorer. And we added export to CSV in several areas that wasn't available. And that is what the people want.
Anything you see, you can just hit a button and CSV pops out.
That's exactly right. That's the world I want to live in. So, all right. Finally, I just want to mention it briefly because when I first learned to program, after I got through the simple languages, and I thought I was like really learning. I learned C and C++, and I just think it's funny that I guess the feds. Here's the thing. Critical software must drop C++ by 2026. So there you go. For all of us that thought really all this memory unsafe languages, we're really we're not prepared. We don't really know how to do memory management, like new, delete, malloc, free. Like, who knows? Who knows where you actually need to call these in your program? So I just think it's funny that even the feds are like, this programming language, which of course C and Linux is built on it and basically built all the software that we're using today. I think it's funny that they've declared it as basically insecure. And of course, they have some realistic expectations. I don't think they actually have a realistic expectations. You really can't rewrite all the C++ code that's out there. It's impossible. It would take I don't know, probably 5 decades. So yeah,
they're stop digging.
Maybe that's what it is. And I guess it's a big fan. I guess if you who's the big winner here? Rust, Go, I don't know, maybe some other languages, I guess so. So my question then is will they still teach it? What are they teaching in computer science first class now? Is it Java or is it JavaScript maybe?
Python,
no.
Java.
Well, the kids.
I bet you that's 90% of it right there.
But 95. This is a good one. Do we feel actually feel like that's probably the best? It's almost like we were talking about the kids learning to write. It's listen, it's probably better nobody really try to write and manage their own memory until you're a graduate student and you really know what you're doing. There's a real reason you're doing this. Otherwise, stay to the other languages. So
Yeah, I mean, I was never good at C++. I was passable in C. Yeah, I did a fair amount
mm.
of C, but C++ just I
I think the
just
secret there,
not
Matt,
good
is
at.
no one was ever good at C++ except what is his name? Bajon Strostrup. I can't even say it. You know,
Strostrup, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
like I mean, he was the one that was good. He was like, guys, I'm gonna give you guys some object oriented stuff. I'm gonna give you some if you will, the whatever the pre-populating, script, the macros. That was the thing that really that's why
It
no one
just
could be good
broke
at
me.
the
Yeah.
macros, the preprocessor. That's what I was looking at. The preprocessor with the macros made it impossible. So. Feel free to join the Slack and tell me why I'm wrong. That would be fine as well. So, a
Every
couple
time.
things, Matt, as we close out here, I wanted to highlight here. One, in the Slack this week, there were some random recommendations I picked out. I guess K-pop Demon Hunters. This is like I guess on Netflix. I guess
Yeah.
it's huge. People say it's great. I don't know. I haven't watched it anyway.
No.
It's some kind of weird musical. So I don't know, Matt. You need to watch that with your daughter and report back if it's good.
I don't think
And then,
she's
of course,
interested.
the
Yeah.
only Slack that can both recommend K-pop Demon Hunters. They also recommended that the new Python package management tool UV. Have you used this? Written in Rust. I don't know. People are saying that's the new cool way to do Python. Of course, I'm still doing the old school. Of course, if you would like a sticker, all you have to do is email your postal address to stickers@softwaredefinetalk.com. Happy to send you a sticker anywhere in the world. And one more reason you should join the Slack. We didn't have time to promote it this week, but we're trying to do some more meetups here in Austin, get together for lunch, very informal, no obligation, just kind of come meet some of the other listeners of Software Defined Talk. We'll try to post some upcoming meetups, and maybe we'll do one in September. So it'd be fun to meet some of you in person. Of course, we've got some conferences coming up. There's SRA Day London. Cote is going to be speaking on the 18th and 19th. There's Texas Linux Fest. That's October 3rd. Matt, how did all your conferences go? You got any more that you're supposed to be promoting?
The Wiz has their user conference coming in November. Two of them, North
Oh,
America
okay.
and Europe. So I'm not sure what the cities were, but I'll put that in the show notes. If Wiz puts on good events, I'm sure. All of our meetups are always top notch, but this is our first big user conference, and we're doing two flavors. Unfortunately I don't think I'll be at either one.
Ah, sad, sad. Well, not yet, Matt. They just don't know the power of your presence, but I'm sure they'll invite you soon. So, with that said, Matt, do you have a recommendation this week?
Yeah, I've got a pair of recommendations. The first is fairly simple. I've talked about Synergy before and the open source implementation of it. Well, with the new household and the new internet and stuff, I decided to make the jump to the fully rebranded new open source version, which is called Desk Flow. They wanted to stop muddying the waters between the commercial and open source, so it has a complete different name. And the Desk Flow people finally went and added all the UI tools that were left out of the open source. So now there's like actual, a daemon that runs and a menu item for Mac OS that just lets you hit restart when if it stops working or something. So it's great. It's super great. So I highly recommend if you have multiple monitors, don't mess around with that Mac mission control stuff. It's nonsense. It's terrible. Go with Desk Flow. That's my first recommendation. My second is actually a podcast, the Reply All podcast, which I've talked about before. The most recent episode, I guess it's the first of the new season, the Dubai chocolate theory of the internet, just kind of like blew my mind because they basically got to explaining influencer culture and TikTok in a way I hadn't really grasped. Obviously, I'm not the target audience for it, but I have seen now that I've listened to that episode, I see what it was talking about how basically TikTok is not like other social media. It was always built to be Amazon with video, and like that just never clicked with me before. I was just like, oh, it's a place for silly videos. It's like, no, it's a place for commercials, and user generated commercials with click through links, and like the episode's really good. Or at least I thought it was good. So check that out. Always like the search engine podcast.
Yeah, so double check out just a little real time fact check. It's not Reply All. That's the old podcast they used to do. That one's no longer. So it's search engine is the one you want to check out, and always good too. So all right, and I would agree. Like TikTok, I don't know. I have a love hate with it. It's very addictive, but like it is cool. I don't know. I don't know where I come down on it. I probably like it's so good. I probably need to take it off my phone. That's one of those kind of things, right? It's like you can just, I don't know. It just goes down the rabbit hole. So, all right. So listen to that episode. You can get all the details on that. All right. I have a much more simple, mundane. I have the VMware, if you will, recommendation of this show where it's just like, guys, something simple that you need. I didn't know that this existed. My bad. So in Gmail, if you go down in the left hand of, I guess, the tree there's a whole thing that says manage subscriptions where it will just show you all of the things that your subscriptions that you're getting emails from. And from there, you can just click in one place and unsubscribe to all of them. And I was like,
wow.
this is like genius, right? So
Oh my gosh.
I don't know. I see Matt in real time discovering this as well. So it's kind of amazing. So I unsubscribed from like, I don't know, a million email lists that I forgot that I subscribed to. So this is not new. I believe this feature's been out for quite a while. So if you've never done it, you're probably going to be surprised at what you find, how many subscriptions. If you've already used it, you're going to be like, why are you recommending to me old technology? Matt, it looks like how many, you want to give us a real-time feedback? How many subscriptions are you seeing there? How many things are you unsubscribing from?
Oh, this is continuous loading.
Okay. All right. Well, Matt's in the infinite
I would say
scroll.
it's easily 100.
Yeah. Yeah.
But see, I was already on top of this. I had a filter in place that looked for the word unsubscribe. So everything that had that was already getting flagged for me. So I've stayed on top of them mostly. But this is like, what my thought though is as I'm hitting unsubscribe, is it just like, black holing them into the spam folder?
I don't,
Or is it
what?
actually going back and clicking the unsubscribe?
I think it is, because here's what I noticed when I did it. Like it would, for most of them, it would say you unsubscribe, but some of them it would flag and just say, it would say something like, can't unsubscribe. Do you want me to, kind of what you're saying? Can't
Oh,
unsubscribe.
wow.
Do you want me to, it would either tell you to go to the website or it would tell you like, do you want me to like, filter this out? Something along those lines. So there is,
Interesting.
I
Yeah.
think there is some kind of like API thing happening behind the scenes. It like kind of knows like these will actually take unsubscribes. These don't. So,
Yeah.
so anyway, so everyone has a little homework there. You can go clean up your subscriptions.
Nice.
All right. Well, for everyone that made it this far, we really appreciate it. This is episode 535. If you would like to see all the topics we discussed and some we didn't, go to softwaredefinedtalk.com/535. And with that, we will talk to you next time.
Bye.
All right, Matt. A lot of people think we couldn't do it, but would you like to rant about the internet for a few minutes about our difficulty in getting this whole episode recorded?
Well, Tuesday, I had internet. Well, I didn't have internet installed. I had electricians come out and drop down the Ethernet. So I now I've got the patch panel and the closet. I've got, the router and, modem, got relocated there. I'm slowly moving everything into a nice central location. I got my, oh crap. I got my camera that I'm going to start putting in the power over Ethernet camera. So the infrastructure is all in place, which is now and we had some outages during the show. So I'm like, oh God, please don't be a hardware problem. Please be just flaky upstream, because if it's a hardware problem, I gotta get those guys back. So rest assured, I'm going to be going and ping flooding my network to see if there's any bad wiring.
I like it. All right. Well, for everyone that managed to make it through the stream, we appreciate you hanging with our difficulties. And of course, if you're listening to this in the Magic Audio, hopefully we will clean up most of those. So it's a nice clean episode for you. With that, we will be streaming probably next week around this time. And with that, we will talk to you next time.